Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Fast Expand, the Warcraft 3 podcast, where we cover all things esports, gameplay, and whatever else comes to mind. You know, everything that covers Reforged and Warcraft 3 in the community. So it's my pleasure to welcome you back. We have a special guest today on a special episode, actually, if you will it, because Dreamhack Anaheim is around the corner. We're going to have the first major Western Warcraft 3 offline tournament, and who better to invite and talk about it than my man RehcraM. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Glad to be here again. It's been a while since we talked, and
Yeah.
I think it's a great occasion to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you and to talk about the players, the tournament, the pre-story, and just to maybe drop some speculation or some predictions as well as to who's gonna take the big one. Because I think it's safe to say that for this tournament, things are a little bit different than they normally would be because of the coronavirus and the unstable situation that we have in some parts of Asia. So that is the reason, basically, to shake things up with right at the beginning, right? The best or some of the best Chinese players or players who play in China won't be able to join us.
Yeah, we would have loved to see like Infi and Lin, especially those 2 have been looking really dominant, but unfortunately they can't attend.
Yeah, very true. And also the reigning world champion, if you want to call him like that. Lin, of course, would have been so nice to see him. But yeah, that weakens the orcish presence, I want to say, at the tournament. Because
Quite a bit, yeah.
yeah, quite a bit. Because without him, amongst the invited players, there's only 2 more orcs left. And that is Hitman from the US and Focus, his countryman from Korea. What do you think about those 2?
Um, I, f- I, f- I feel like they are super strong players, and I think they'll do a good job representing the race, but they are not Lin by any means.
Yeah.
I think Lin, both comparing him to other of his race, is just on another level, and also if you compare to like Happy or Moon or the top players of other races, I think right now I think Lin is just head above them all.
That's also what Hitman told us, in almost every Fight Night interview that we have, or when Grubby and I talk to him in private. He always looks up to Lin like every orc player in the world does, probably. He takes inspiration from his builds, especially against human. That allowed him to do so well at WGL last year. So yeah, without him, it's gonna be tough because Hitman and Focus, especially Focus, I feel like he's not really known to be a strong offline player, and he hasn't won a major title in forever, it feels like, right?
Yeah, he's like last year or 2, he's been like itching to be the best orc because
He had like 2 or 3 months, right, where he looked a little bit dominant.
yeah, there was like a period of time where people were saying, "Oh, maybe Focus is actually the best orc now," and then suddenly Lin just went bananas and started beating everyone. But I hope he can show up, and I actually think that Focus will be he's my number 1 contender to beat Happy if anyone at this tournament is going to beat him.
I can probably unveil a little secret. Grubby and I have a secret bet going on. Whoever predicts the winner correctly or gets the closest, if none of our candidates wins, has to donate a gifted sub to the other. So, and I picked Focus, man. Grubby went with Happy. I picked Focus. I basically had the same thought process as you. I think RehcraM, where the orc undead matchup is still a little favorable for orcs in general. And in offline situations, maybe Focus is the man to beat Happy,
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the last playoff grid with 8 players, because I think Focus will struggle heavily if he faces Moon or even Low Light.
Yes.
Whereas if I think Happy is super strong against Night Elf, and even though they're super good players, I don't think they will manage to beat Happy if he shows up at his best. So yeah, how the grid is drawn and who gets on top of the groups is going to determine a lot of things compared to who's going to win.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Dreamhack Warcraft 3 Reforged Twitter account, but there hasn't been any news regarding the brackets or regarding the seeding yet. So the last news was
there's group stage first. So I imagine that the grid is going to depend on the seeding from the group.
Yes. And I'm not sure when they close registration for players to show up, since today is Wednesday and the event starts on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So, maybe there's some last second registrations coming up. But yeah, last news actually was February 12th. So quite some time ago, and I hope that really I've seen people arrive in Anaheim already. I think Thorzane tweeted a picture. Back to Warcraft will probably be on their way as well. So yeah, people are starting to get settled in, and I can only take it as a sign of DreamHack and Blizzard just working behind the scenes to have everything ready. So what do you think about this tournament in general? What are your hopes and expectations for this, since it is the first major stop for the newly announced ESL Pro Tour?
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to have expectations because I don't know what it's gonna look like. It's the first like big offline tournament we had in the West,
especially in Reforged, yeah,
and in Reforged, yeah, especially that draws attention, of course. So it's really hard to estimate just how popular it's going to be among the the outsiders, the people who probably know the game but doesn't really follow it day to day.
And even for players who are already playing the game or following, there was a tweet that kind of gave away the impression of not too many people from NA in particular signing up, that there were still spots and slots available. So
yeah. I mean, when they have a tournament without qualifiers, I think it's hard. It's hard to expect that there's going to come like everyone from European and every good American player. You can't really expect that because it's a lot of money to get there. And so I think basically we have to look at the invited players and the few good players who are showing up because of their team.
Well, who do we actually know is going to go there? We know Natepo, he's going to go, and we know Intit.
Natepo and the Flame and So Sorry Man and OC.
OC, that's true. Yeah, heard about that too.
And Arc as well.
Nice.
I think those are the people who attend without being invited.
Very nice. Yeah, so and I think when you talk about American tournaments, you're also, I think oftentimes people are tempted to say, yo, it's a tournament in NA, so all the NA players need to show up. But oftentimes as a European especially, I feel like people forget how huge America is. and Canada involved, of course, South America involved. It's not just they can hop on a car and go there, whereas if a tournament was in France right now, I could go there from Germany relatively easily by train or car if I wanted to, or even plane. But if, let's say, you live in NA and you're in New York and the tournament is in LA, it's actually quite the freaking journey to go there across the whole continent.
It is, and they didn't have like a whole lot of time to like plan for it.
Exactly, no sponsors,
sorry,
most likely. So yeah,
adjust my camera. Sorry if I'm shaking it too much.
Nice.
What was I saying? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of planning. If you have to get days off your work, you have to, ask for permission to take leave, and then get that. It's a bit easier for us in Europe because we have several months to plan for both the Rotterdam event and the Schönköping event.
That's true. Timing-wise, this was, of course, the hardest tournament to execute. We've covered this before, of course, in the podcast. They reduced the number of players invited because of that. They made some other adjustments simply because of Reforged and the release being so close to the announcement. So another, I would say, like, heatedly discussed topic amongst the fans and content creators or players alike is going to be the viewership. I actually had a discussion yesterday with someone at Heroes Hearth, and they were asking me about, what my prediction would be in terms of viewership. And it's really hard to make that prediction. I know.
It's kind of possible, yeah.
Damn, I think Todd also had this topic on his town hall meeting. And it's really hard to say. Before I give my 2 cents and my impression, I want to hear yours, RehcraM. What do you think is like worst case, average expectation, and best case scenario? What do you think on Twitch? Of course, Twitch viewership.
I mean, one of the problems is that I'm afraid it's going to be in the middle of night in Europe. and
time is not ideal for Europe. That's true.
No, and I know a lot of the fan base is in Europe, and
Definitely.
we see that in European. I mean, a weekly European Cup can pull 5,000 viewers back to Warcraft. That's not uncommon anymore.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we could easily put it up to 10,000, I think, for the Anaheim event. But I am a bit hesitant to go much higher than that because I know a lot of Europeans might be asleep, and that makes it a bit harder to estimate it. But I'm gonna go a bit conservative and say 10,000, and then I'm happy.
So you're gonna say 10K? Do you want to differentiate between maybe group stage and, let's say, playoffs or grand finals? Or do you think it's roughly going to be the same?
I think I don't think the entire group stage is gonna reach 10,000.
Same.
So I think it's going to be maybe ranging from 7,000 or something like that, and then peak at 15,000, or maybe reach closer to 20,000.
I think it all comes down to the first couple of days. And if first impression sucks, if there's a lot of production issues, if there's unstable games, or anything else along those lines, from a production point of view, I think this might really harm the following viewership, because people are not going to tune in, especially people who are like curious, you know, and they want to maybe get back into Warcraft 3 or check it out for the first time because, what is this 0.5 Metacritic game? I want to see if it's really that bad. And then they see like endless technical difficulties, and they're like, "Yep, it's actually that bad," and I'm gone. So,
I'm looking forward to the Twitch chat of the,
oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I don't even want to, dude. Twitch chat. I usually never deactivate it, but if it gets out of hand, I might have to this time.
We'll see.
But yeah, so I think, oh man, see, I wish we could have 10K stable all the time, but I think I'm with you on that one. I think group stage, because of bad times for EU-based fans, and I think we're gonna have 6 to 7K, and that gets. I think we're going to have above 10K for the later stages. The tournament goes well. And maybe the inner optimist within just screams that we're going to have 20K for the grand final. But that, once again, is very
I don't think that's
and ambitious.
Too unrealistic.
It could be possible. Yes, that's true. Especially if one of the Western players makes it to the big stage, you know, for the grand finals. Let's see, we have a Happy versus Moon, or a Happy versus... I don't know, Happy Focus. You know, we have this Korea versus EU, or maybe NA if Hitman fights his way all the way through, or OC.
Moon is also just like a crowd pleaser because everyone knows him. Even just the people who are returning after 15 years know who Moon is.
Yes.
So if he makes it to the grand final, then I think he'll have some pull.
That's a really good point, actually, man. If we have those crowd pleasers, you know, those big stage names, and we have them, and everybody wants to see that legendary grand final. Which, by the way, I hope is going to be a best of 7. Have they actually announced that?
I don't think they have gone in detail with that now.
Would be nice to have a best of 7, though, but maybe it's a best of 5.
Yeah, we'll see. I think some tournaments have also started have more like where it's like a two best of 5, for example.
Oh wait, I think I just saw it on the website. I can show you to the audience too. Yeah. If you go to the dreamhack.com/Anaheim/WC open, they say playoffs, single elimination bracket, best of 3 quarters and semis, and best of 5 finals. So we're gonna have best of 3 for quarters and semifinals.
All right. That's That feels a little. I would have liked to see best of 5 in the semifinals because it's a single elimination. But
I don't think you can do best of 3 in a semifinal, man. But well, maybe it's because of time issues. You know, there's a lot of events. That's the thing about DreamHacks. There's always several events going on, of course, several tournaments. So maybe they just want to make sure that everything goes in roughly the same time schedule, but. Yeah, I totally forgot about that, man. Best of 3 semifinals. That is potentially going to cause some upsets. I mean, for the quote-unquote weaker players, it's actually not that bad. So if you say there's going to be a Hitman Happy semifinals, if that happens, then the more games you play against such a titan like Happy, the more the chance of you getting dominated or figured out at some point.
Yeah. I mean, winning a best of 3 against Happy is still kind of, I won't say unrealistic, but it's difficult, as we have seen.
Oh, dude, if Hitman was on the show, he would say, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I've won some games. I win 1 out of 15 games against Happy.
Happy isn't anything special.
He likes to stress that quite a bit. Of course, prize pool wise, we have a relatively generous distribution, which is kind of cool, especially if you think about players that come all the way on their own expenses or at their own expenses, like Nepo and Ente, of course. Kind of cool. We have, once again, I'm going to show it to the audience too, like real quick. 7.5 for the winner, 3.5K dollars for second, 2,000 for third, 4,000 also goes in with 2,000, and then everyone is getting something out of the top 16, which I think is pretty decent, pretty nice.
Yeah, everyone we mentioned before is going to end up in the top 16.
Yeah,
so it's nice that there's at least something for everyone.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we can probably talk about our colleagues. Our beloved community darlings. We have the broadcast talent. Of course, back to Warcraft. It wouldn't be a real tournament, I think, if they weren't included. Same can be probably said about Todd. I mean, such a big name in the scene, and with the knowledge and insight that he has, be it as a streamer now, as a former pro player at the very highest level, or just a very avid follower, I think he's definitely a good choice. And then we have Trixler, actually, as the host. Some people were confused that, or thought he would cast as well, but he basically made it very obvious himself that he's just there as a host, and he's eager to learn. And it's really cool because Trixler I've met in Heroes of a Storm. He was active in SC2 as well, StarCraft 2. So he really knows the esports scene quite well, the Blizzard one, and he has plenty of camera experience, of course. He was casting with Calder, who many of you recognize, of course, as well. So I think he's going to do a fabulous job, really, when it comes to, presenting the games and analyzing stuff alongside the board.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good crew they have assembled together. I mean, there's a lot of discussion regarding Todd because he's quite polarizing in the community, but I think it's objectively true that he's a great caster. There's a big difference between the Todd that you see play the game himself on stream and complain about balance, and then to a Todd who is casting a game for a tournament.
Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna bring his punchline. Look at the supply. We know it from StarCraft 2. If he's gonna make an adjustment to it, look at the food, or if he's gonna stick with it. Yeah, look at the food count. No, it's gonna be great though.
It's not always as impactful in Warcraft, but
true.
We'll see. Doesn't fluctuate that much. But I'm kind of excited to get to know the Trixler guy, because it's always nice to grow talent, and he's starting off as an analyst, or rather like a host for the analyst desk. And I think that's a good place to have like someone who already knows how to get around on a camera and ask the correct questions, so the new players also know what's going on. Maybe. Yeah,
absolutely. And as someone who's done a little bit of hosting myself in the past for Heroes of a Storm and stuff like that, I think it can actually have a really surprisingly positive impact if the host is not necessarily super deep in the matter. Because oftentimes when hosts know the game very well, and I know this happened to me in the past with Heroes of a Storm, they kind of tend to take away a lot of the stuff, a lot of the talking points that the experts, the casters and the analysts wanted to talk about. So when you have Trixler, who's first of all experienced, and secondly, not super deep in the game yet, it makes for very good questions, because he could be genuinely interested in, and then that could really make the other desk members shine quite a bit, because we all know that Neo, Remo, and Todd know their stuff very, very well. So I'm looking forward to this desk. Like you said, RehcraM, I think it's going to be a really cool roster of talent for this one.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, you can also derail Todd and Remo if they start discussing about
Oh,
Rifleman
dude,
again.
I'm looking forward to the discussions between Remo and Todd. You could already see parts of it in the last town hall. I'm not sure if you saw it.
I only saw like a snippet of it, so like 10 minutes or so.
I really like the balance philosophies. Let's just put it this way that Remo and Todd had. Todd obviously defending human quite a bit, especially the rifles. Which, by the way, Hitman had a very interesting statement towards rifles last fight night when he did the winners interview. He played against Johnny Cage, sorry. Johnny Cage, and Johnny Cage took 2 maps off Hitman. Very, very well, actually. Very strong playstyle that always included rifles. And when we had Hitman on the interview, he was like, I can't believe how strong rifles are. You just right-click. It's insane, Blizzard. What are you doing? So I think Todd would have had quite a little something to say about that.
Yeah, probably. But it's he played super aggressively, Johnny Cage. And
oh yeah,
that kind of works sometimes. But on the last map, I think Echo Islands wasn't that the 5th map.
Mm-hmm.
He was so far behind in hero level, so the TC was like 2.5 when Mountain King was level 1, and then it just doesn't work to play aggressive all the time. So didn't really understand the, I guess recklessness is the word of the strategy played. But then on some maps like Last Refuge, he just trampled him down and ran him over by
not even
aggression.
leaving the orc based ones, man. Just sitting there with rifles and some priests and just sniping down burrows, getting the shop, and he was just grinding him out, man. And that very rarely happens to Hitman, at least on the fight night. But back from the fight night and moving on once again to Dreamhack Anaheim. So we talked about the on-stage talent. We like it. Both of us, we really like it. We talked about prize money. We talked about group stage. Let's talk a little bit more about the players. We already tackled Focus and Hitman a little bit because they are the Orcish representatives, and they're going to hopefully bring honor to the Horde. But what are your thoughts? Let's just tackle player after player, I think is the best way of doing it. So let's start at the top.
Sure.
Happy, man. Strongest undead in the world. Still strongest
Arguably.
Player in the world, though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't think he's the strongest player.
No, that title goes to Lin right now.
Yeah, right now it is. It's so hard to say because there's not that many offline tournaments, and I think it's a bit unfair to judge Happy on online tournaments where he has 150 ping more. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I think he's the favorite to win. If I had to pick one just from the players I see in the Anaheim lineup, then
so
I think
you're siding with Grubby.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
fair enough.
I still think like a player like Focus can beat him and have a chance, but it's more like maybe that's 50-50. But then again, Focus is unfavored against Moon, where I think Happy is favored against Moon. So I think if you add it all up, then I think Happy is the favorite.
Let's mention all the other players now, and you give me your win percentage guess that you think they have against Happy.
Oh, have you looked it up and have it ready?
No. I just want to hear your guts. Your gut instinct. Thorazine against Happy. What is the chance he takes him down?
Okay, like that. Thorazine versus Happy. I think it's in a best of 3. I assume it's okay. Then 10%.
Okay, Moon.
35-40 maybe.
Okay.
35.
Lolight?
25.
Hitman.
5.
Oh my god.
He's not quite there yet, but I believe Hitman can. He needs some time still to evolve a bit, and then I think he's a better contender. Right now,
I give Hitman 25 actually, because I think he's a workhorse, man. He's grinding so hard, and Orc is pretty good against Undead, so
I think 25% for him to take one map.
Okay. Focus.
But, we'll see. I think it's 50-50 between Focus. It depends a lot of what kind of Focus it is that shows up. I think when Focus is at his best, he's nasty strong.
Yeah.
And as we know, Happy has a little weak spot in the Orc matchup.
Lost to Cash just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, these comparisons, they're never 100% waterproof, but Hitman stole the Fight Night title from Cash. It's a different matchup, I know, but
yeah, and I once bit Robinson, and Robinson bit Mr. Winner, and Mr. Winner bit 1-0, and 1-0 bit Happy. So Kendrick, I'm better than Happy.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I don't think Hitman is a worse orc player in general than Cash. I think they're pretty evenly.
I don't think that either. Yeah. But I also wouldn't give Cash a high chance against Happy in a prestigious tournament.
True. All right. 4G, what do you think?
Against Happy still?
Yeah.
I mean,
they've played so much. They've played so many games.
It's just a statistic that Foggy is not going to win against Happy. And we saw him come really close, like the break tournament, for example, where he went 2-3 against them. But yeah, he's like 20 max map win rate against Happy. So I would give him like 15% or something like that.
You know, if Foggy meets Happy, let's say in the semis or even quarters, I think this is really like, for him to beat him, that would be an anime story. You know, the one dude always trying, and then the epic music turns in and the anime zoom goes in, and Foggy's just like Super Saiyan level and just does it at the big tournament. Yes.
I think one thing that's very good for Foggy is that he always shows up at the big offline tournaments, and somehow he always puts a much better performance than offline. Oh, online, excuse me.
Yeah. So he's the reverse focus, you could say.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm looking forward. Seeing Foggy on offline tournaments always that's fantastic, because he prepares stuff and he, shows up.
He does, but we mentioned Foggy and Happy meeting a lot at Rising Star Cups, ESL Open Cups, and whatever other cups and tournaments there were lately that just involve EU. These two have shown us a great abundance of series, really. But the same can be said about Hawk, man. The other Russian in the roster. What do you think about him and his percentage?
Not too high. I think he had the rifle style, which he served him really well against all unders except Happy, basically. And I think when he played Fast Expo, he's super capable of doing it, of course. But against Happy, I just haven't seen him play to the same level as someone like Sock or Envy does. So I don't know about the percentage. He's a great player, but I think 10% maybe. I think Forsen, even though I would say Forsen is the worst human, I think Forsen has a better chance because he plays the Paladin style and has refined it very well. And Happy isn't as used to play against it, even though I think Happy has started to have like a grip on the strategy and know how to defeat it.
Thorzen is just this Dreamhack monster, man. Of course, we all remember his StarCraft 2 brilliance a couple of years ago when he showed up big time. He is just a different animal, I would say, in certain situations when, offline is good, when ping is good, and he just feels good. I'm a little bit worried about Thorzen. The only thing I'm worried about him is the fact that he admittedly repeated that he didn't practice much. I'm not sure what his recent training schedule looked like.
He's already in Anaheim and at the hotel and practicing, so that's good at least.
Yeah, but, let's hope for the best, man, for the Swede.
I've never really seen him at a offline event, except for like the Sweden Lands, which is like more fun than anything else. So I'm looking a lot forward to that. I think he's one of the players who's like a real crowd pleaser because everyone loves Forsen, and he's probably my favorite player. That also leads to him being a bit overrated, I think. I think he's super strong, but as you mentioned, he doesn't practice as much, and while that is the case, that's also just an excuse for being a worse player, I think. And that's like the excuse that people put onto him.
You know who's a player that I would have loved to see participate in this tournament because of his recent momentum? That's Vortex. I would have loved to see him participate because he's a big name as well. Whether you remember him in StarCraft 2, Warcraft 3, or even Heroes of the Storm, he's been to so many dream hacks, and he's looked really strong lately in those online cups, man.
Yeah, he's impressed me a lot. Getting to the quarterfinals and the semifinals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he also plays the school style that not many undeads rely on, except Mad Frog, I guess at this point you could say. So
yeah, Mad Frog is kind of the extreme where he just only play crypt like gargoyles and ghouls, and that's about it. But yeah, a lot of the old schools, like also X-Law plays a lot of ghouls as well, against Night Elf and sometimes against Undead as well. And Vortex. So it's interesting to see that when you're used to seeing Happy play nothing but fiends, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I just want to see how much people have figured out the Happy style. You know, it's been around for so long. Happy very rarely shifts away from it or does something completely crazy, you know, that nobody would have had on the radar. And it really seems like at some point people's gotta crack it. They gotta figure it out and they gotta know how to beat him. Like we said, Foggy, he came close in 1 or 2 games, but not really too much of a problem for Happy. Let's see if some of the other players can finally crack him. The tough nut that is Happy.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because the style that Happy plays is so execution based, and it's not really because there's no obvious flaws, because he just plays something that's very solid and very standard and doesn't take big risk, but like new strategies and try to rely on the opponent making mistakes. He just plays his style and plays it to an absurd high level.
When he faced Foggy a couple of days ago, I remember that. I'm not sure which map it was, but Foggy played Mass Air, Night Elf versus Undead. And this playstyle, admittedly, for the Undead can be very hard to handle, especially if there's a critical mass of air units for the Night Elf. But Happy in those fights, the way he split the Fiends, he didn't lose a single one. And Foggy started this fight with 20 food up advantage. And still Happy beat him in that fight. Didn't lose a single Fiend. His micro, it seemed like he had his hands everywhere. It was crazy. Like, no one can do it like him in that situation.
Yeah, the 1.30 patch that really helped, like on that learning how to play against the master.
Yes.
Play against you over and over again, and eventually learning how to kite back perfectly and how to micro against it perfectly.
Yeah.
Know when to go in for a hippogriff or a fairy dragon, and then back out immediately again.
How do you think are some of the non-invited players going to fare? Because there admittedly are some stronger names in there, right? Neutron, Ente, OC, looking, especially OC, I think on stream looks very strong. So do you think we're going to see them maybe in the, let's say, round of 16, round of 8?
OC, I don't think so. I think OC, he's a good player who is especially good on ladder because people don't expect it.
But didn't you know he beat Grubby once 2-1?
Grubby, he's a washed up pro player. Come on.
No, I just say that because he mentioned it on stream quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't seen that actually, but that's good to know. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I don't think he holds a candle to the 8 and white players. Especially, he's going to play Huntresses against you, so you can sort of like at least mentally prepare against it.
Okay. What about Ente or Neutron?
I think Ender and Neutron are the most likely to break into the top 8, aside from the invited players. So they could like eliminate Thorsane or maybe Hitman, or some of the weak of the invited 8. Yeah, so I think they have a shot at it. I don't think they are favored to go into top 8.
Right.
But I believe. I think it's cool to take the chance without being invited and going to Anaheim, and I hope they have their teams paying for it. But I think it's cool anyways to have the dedication to do it without an invite.
Absolutely. And even if they don't make it to the very far rounds, it's still experience. It's still like, I think that can't be overestimated, or underestimated, I should say, like how important it is, especially as a player who hasn't played much offline tournaments. They at least, you get the vibe, you get some learning experience from it. Because there will be several offline tournaments, of course, across the year, with, like you said, Sweden, Australia later during the year. Very important to keep those as a far goal as well. So yeah, every amount of experience that you can get there helps. Even if you just get 2-0'd by Happy, still nice to play against him in the offline stage to see what he can do with a 10 ping. So
yeah, a 0 ping
or a 0 ping even, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also the group stages, they're not just eliminated because they lose one match. So that's nice to know as a player. That's reassuring to know that you have some what's called leeway in the group stages.
And I think they're definitely going to make it among the best 16. And if you make it to 13 to 16, you walk away with $500. That's probably enough to cover a huge chunk of your travel cost. If you make it to 12, then even 750. So it's nice. It's a really good tournament to improve as a player, to to really bolster up your experience level and to walk away with a little bit of money. So yeah, did we forget about anything? Is there anything else that needs to be addressed when talking about Anaheim? I think we pretty much got it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be nice.
Oh man, dude, I'm so gonna stay up late just to watch it.
Oh, I'm not gonna be home this weekend. That's a really bad timing.
How dare you have RL in this?
I know. I'll check I'm expecting someone to make live Twitter updates, and then I'm gonna watch that. And
should I
have the
watch for you
later? You can do it for me. Yeah, okay. I really appreciate that.
And yeah, guys. So by the time this recording happens, we're comparing it right now at the Dreamhack website. It's 1 day and 23 hours away. So by the time you're listening to this, probably about a day or so. So yeah, show up. This is really, I mean, we've been saying this in previous podcasts, or other people have said it on different sources. It's really a sign for the community as well. We all know that the frustration and disappointment about Reforged is still alive, and rightfully so. But let's still, I just want to see a strong community, man, showing up and cheering for the players, watching the games, and showing the world that even after all these years, Warcraft 3 esports is still a staple, especially in the RTS genre. Admittedly, we don't have much competition, but we want to show those StarCraft 2 nerds out there that we don't have to hide in Warcraft 3, So make some noise and share the news on social media, on Twitch chat, wherever you can watch it. Maybe the YouTube VODs. It's good too. And do you want to say anything about that, RehcraM? I know this topic is very dear to you too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just kind of echo what you said. I think it's cool that we broke 200 participants for an online cup.
Yes.
And that really shows that we have players and we have people who are engaged in the game, and a nice community, even though there's been some negativity around the last few weeks. So I'll just say everyone who participates in the week club, give a pat on your shoulder and and continue to do so, especially if you find it fun. It doesn't matter if you get super far. I participated 1 week ago and tried to fire Lord Tower Rush Happy. It didn't work out, as you can imagine, but it was fun to try it.
Yeah,
and had a good time. So I encourage you to do the same.
Absolutely. Anything goes, anything helps, even if you're just there having your monitor up and watching silently. You don't have to get super busy in chat. It's just, every view really counts to show ESL, to show Dreamhack, and to show Blizzard as well, that the community is there and wants more esports, more Warcraft 3 esports. It's a great thing for everyone, really. The players get to play more games. We get to watch more. So yeah, let's do it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I think we've covered all the basics. And if you have any questions left, or if you have any input for us and you want to participate in the discussion about the players and Dreamhack Anaheim, then let us know in a comment down below, or you can tweet at both RehcraM and myself. Our Twitter accounts you can see. Our Twitter accounts you can see on the overlay too. And before we send you guys off, final words and shout outs from you, my man.
Stay fresh.
Peace, guys. See you there.
Yo.